What if I told you that right now, beneath your feet, millions of males are being prepared for a suicide mission? They'll get exactly one chance at reproduction before their bodies literally shut down and they die within hours. And the females? They're about to embark on the most dangerous journey of their lives, where 99% of them won't survive the next 24 hours. This isn't some dystopian science fiction story. This is the brutal reality of how ants reproduce. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at these tiny insects the same way again. Here's something that should terrify you about ant reproduction. Unlike almost every other animal on the planet, ant colonies have engineered themselves into an evolutionary corner that demands constant sacrifice. Think about it. In most species, males contribute to survival in some way. Male lions protect the pride, male wolves hunt for the pack, male bees at least help regulate hive temperature. But male ants? They serve absolutely zero purpose beyond a single act of reproduction, and even that act kills them. The colony knows this, the queen knows this, the male ants themselves on some instinctual level know this. Yet the system perpetuates because it works with ruthless efficiency. Every ant colony is essentially a factory that manufactures disposable males and sends nearly all its female reproductives to certain death, all to ensure that maybe, just maybe, one or two will succeed. This isn't just nature being cruel. This is nature being mathematically brutal, and understanding why this system evolved reveals something profound about survival itself.
Let's talk about numbers, because the statistics behind ant reproduction are absolutely staggering. A mature ant colony doesn't just produce a handful of reproductive individuals. We're talking about thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of winged ants being created for a single mating event. Imagine the resources required for this. Every single one of those winged ants needs to be fed, protected, and housed until conditions are perfect. The colony is essentially investing enormous amounts of energy into individuals that will never work, never hunt, never contribute to the nest in any meaningful way. And here's where it gets even more disturbing. The colony knows that almost all of these specially created ants are going to die horrible deaths within hours of leaving the nest. Predation rates during nuptial flights are astronomical. Birds gorge themselves, spiders set up ambush points, dragonflies intercept them mid-flight, fish wait at water surfaces, even other insects like robber flies hunt them mercilessly. The sky literally becomes a killing field, and the ants fly into it anyway because the alternative is worse. The alternative is genetic stagnation, inbreeding, and colony collapse. So the colony makes a calculated decision: sacrifice thousands to save one. Invest everything into a lottery system where the odds are terrifyingly low, but the payoff for success means your genetic line continues for potentially decades. This is evolution at its most coldly efficient, and it forces us to confront an uncomfortable question: is this strategy cruel, or is it simply the only way that works?
Now here's what makes ant mating even more fascinating from a strategic standpoint. The queens themselves don't want to mate with just any male. Research has shown that virgin queens actually try to escape from pursuing males during the nuptial flight. They're not playing hard to get, they're literally testing which males are fast enough, strong enough, and fit enough to catch them. It's a high-speed aerial chase where the stakes are life and death, and only the most physically capable males succeed. But think about what this means from the male's perspective. He's been born into a system where he has one job, one chance, and one outcome. His entire existence has been building toward this single moment. He doesn't eat much, he doesn't work, he just waits for the signal that conditions are right, and then he launches himself into the sky knowing that even if he succeeds in catching a queen, the act of mating will rupture his internal organs and kill him almost instantly. Success and death are the same thing for male ants. And the queens face an equally brutal calculation. If they mate with too few males, they risk not having enough genetic diversity in their stored sperm to maintain a healthy colony for decades. But every mating attempt is dangerous, uses energy, and increases the time they're vulnerable in the air. So they have to balance genetic optimization against survival probability while being chased by dozens of males and hunted by every predator in the area. The entire event is essentially a mid-air genetic negotiation happening at high speed under extreme duress. Let's talk about what happens after the mating flight, because this is where the story gets even darker. For the males, it's simple and final. Those that successfully mated are already dead or dying. Their genitalia often remain attached to the queen even after they've fallen away, a grotesque reminder of their sacrifice. The males that didn't manage to catch a queen fare no better. They lack the biological programming to return to any colony. They can't feed themselves effectively. They simply wander until they're eaten or they starve, usually within a day or two. But the newly mated queens face what might be an even more harrowing challenge. They've just survived a gauntlet of predators during the flight. Now they have to survive the landing, find suitable ground, and locate or excavate a chamber before predators find them. And here's the truly remarkable part. Once they seal themselves into that underground chamber, they're committing to weeks or even months of complete isolation with no food source except their own body. Those massive wings they developed, they chew them off themselves, cannibalizing the wing muscles for protein to produce their first batch of eggs. They're essentially eating their own flight apparatus to kickstart the next generation. And then they wait in darkness, slowly starving, betting everything on the hope that their first worker daughters will mature fast enough to start bringing food before the queen's body completely fails. The mortality rate during this founding stage is enormous. Most queens never see their colony develop beyond a few dozen ants before something goes catastrophically wrong.
So why does this seemingly wasteful, brutal system work so well? Because it's not actually wasteful at all. It's optimized for a very specific goal. And that goal isn't individual survival, it's genetic immortality. Consider what a successful queen achieves. She mates once, stores sperm from multiple males, and then spends the next 15 to 28 years producing offspring. Some queen ants can live even longer, with certain species documented living past 30 years. During that time, a single queen can produce tens of millions of ants, all carrying the genetic material from that one desperate mating flight. Think about the return on investment from the colony's perspective. Yes, thousands of reproductives die, but one successful queen doesn't just replace the parent colony, she potentially creates a genetic lineage that could spawn dozens of daughter colonies over her lifetime. Those daughter colonies will produce their own reproductives, creating an exponential expansion of genetic material across entire landscapes. One successful mating flight can literally change the genetic composition of ant populations across multiple square kilometers. And this is why the system persists despite its apparent cruelty. The colonies that invest everything into reproduction, that create thousands of disposable males and expendable virgin queens, are the ones whose genes spread. The colonies that try to be conservative, that hold back resources or don't fully commit to the nuptial flight strategy, simply get outcompeted and erased from the gene pool. Evolution doesn't reward mercy, it rewards effectiveness. And this system is devastatingly effective. Here's what disturbs me most about ant reproduction and why I think it's worth understanding. This isn't some bizarre outlier in nature. This is actually a fairly common pattern in highly social insects. Bees do something similar. Termites have their own version. Even some wasps follow comparable strategies. What we're seeing isn't an accident or a quirk. It's a repeating solution that evolution discovers over and over again when organizing large-scale cooperative societies. And that should make us think carefully about what evolution actually optimizes for. It's not happiness. It's not individual welfare. It's not even survival of individuals. Evolution optimizes for genetic replication. Full stop. If the most effective way to replicate genes involves creating thousands of individuals whose entire existence is suffering followed by death, evolution will select for that system every single time. There's no moral consideration, no weighing of suffering against benefit. There's only what works and what doesn't. This is why studying ant reproduction isn't just interesting from a biological standpoint, it's philosophically important. It forces us to confront the reality that nature isn't designed with any individual's best interests in mind. The beautiful complexity we see in ant colonies, the seemingly miraculous coordination, the impressive architecture, all of it is built on a foundation of mass sacrifice. And perhaps most unsettling of all, the ants themselves don't question it. They can't question it. They simply execute their genetic programming with perfect efficiency, whether that programming leads to decades of productive life or immediate death after mating.
Now I want you to consider something that might make you uncomfortable. Human societies don't operate on the same biological imperatives as ant colonies, but we do create systems where individual sacrifice is expected for collective benefit. We send soldiers into situations with high mortality rates. We create economic systems where some people's entire lives are spent in service roles that benefit others. We build societies where certain individuals are functionally more disposable than others. I'm not saying humans are ants or that our societies are equivalent to insect colonies, but studying how ant reproduction works, understanding why evolution selected for such a brutal system, it does make you wonder about the systems we create. Are we always conscious of when we're asking individuals to sacrifice for collective benefit? Do we adequately consider the cost to those individuals, or do we simply accept that some sacrifice is necessary for the system to function? These aren't easy questions, and I'm not claiming to have answers, but ant reproduction forces us to ask them. So the next time you see flying ants swarming on a humid summer day, remember what you're actually witnessing. You're watching thousands of males flying towards certain death. You're watching virgin queens attempting the most dangerous journey of their lives, knowing that almost all of them will fail. You're observing a mass sacrifice event where an entire generation of reproductives is expendable in service of genetic continuation. It's brutal, it's efficient, it's been working for over 100 million years, and it shows us that evolution doesn't care about individual suffering. It only cares about what successfully replicates genes. That's the dark truth about ant reproduction that nobody talks about, and understanding it changes how you see not just ants, but the very nature of evolutionary strategy itself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.